When you're in writer's block, nothing seems to work, and it feels like everything that you do sounds like, right? So in today's video, you're gonna learn a couple of exercises and mindsets that will help you get out of writer's blocks so you can go back to writing awesome melodies, and also preventing you from getting into writer's block in the first place. But if I don't mention your preferred way of getting out of writer's block in this video, let us know over here in the comments below so we can help this community get out of writer's block for good. Let's get down with the tutorial and let's get started with the video. Let's go. First of all, it's important to clear your mind and stop thinking that you only have to write good ideas to get out of a rut. When you're in a creative block, the more pressure that you apply on yourself to write good music, the more anxious it will lead you, and essentially the harder it will be to eventually come up with good music. So in this stage of the game, just embrace the trash. Understand that what you're writing at the moment doesn't really matter, and what matters is that this will get you back on the flow to writing good music in the future. It doesn't need to sound good now, it just needs to get you moving. So let's get started with the exercises. The first exercise is writing chord progressions on top of acapellas. The acapellas are really nice because they help you guide you through your chord progression and eventually makes it easier to come up with chord progressions. For example, listen to this vocal over here.
Gave you the key when the door wasn't open. Just admit.
This is a cover vocal of Where Are You Now by Justin Bieber, and with these vocals I was able to create some chord progressions that sound exactly like this.
Gave you the key when the door wasn't open. Just admit it.
It fits pretty nice, right? And now I can just get rid of the vocal and just get started with a song with just these chord progressions. And even if I fully don't like what I did, at least I created a melody on top of something else, and that gets me started to writing good melodies in the future. But what if you're not good at writing melodies by yourself, or you don't have a piano? What should you do then? Well, if you don't have a piano, you can try using plugins like Klimper or Plugin Boutique Scaler, which essentially will give you chords that you can essentially just press and create a chord progression with. For example, if we go over here to Klimper,
Gave you the key when the door wasn't open. Just admit it. See, I gave you faith and your doubts and a hope, and can't deny it.
and like this we just created a chord progression. If we go over here to Scaler though, Scaler works a bit differently and it has some different flexibilities, including a suggest button that essentially can suggest you a chord progression, but you can still do and play a chord progression over here with Scaler as well.
Gave you the key when the door wasn't open. Just admit it. See, I gave you faith and your doubts and a hope, and can't deny it.
Again, we created a new chord progression that we can later use for our own songs. But if you don't have Scaler or Klimper, you can try using HookPad, which is essentially free and give you the same flexibility. But I prefer these two because I feel that they're a bit easier to use. But now let's go to the next exercise. When you're in a creative rut, sometimes creating something from scratch can be daunting. So why not just mimic someone? Instead of trying to create everything from scratch, just copy a song that you like start to finish, because this can get you back in the flow of producing, which essentially can trigger your creativity. For example, I was just listening to this track without even thinking about a chord progression.
Last night, couldn't even get an answer.
And just the practice of recreating everything got me into here. My goal over here was to copy what I've just listened, and there's only one bass note, so you don't even need a chord progression over there. But making this made me want to continue this, and I actually made a chord progression afterwards because I was feeling inspired, as you can listen over here. It's not perfect, it's not necessarily the best, but again, the idea is just to get you back on the game of producing and get you back in the game of creativity as well. Do this for as many songs as you want, and I'm sure that you're gonna get back to creating good songs. But if you want me to recreate an Afro House drop just like this one over here, let me know over here in the comments below. We can definitely do a tutorial for you like this. Now, a creative block can just mean that what you were doing before to create new melodies is simply not working anymore. So running experiments can be a really good way to unleash some creativity and get out of this creative block. For example, remember that Afro loop? I thought that it would be cool to add some marimba as a lead over there, and this is what I came up with. Now, I'm starting to get away from that initial idea that I was just copying, but I thought over here that I could copy even more. What if I did a lead just like Yodo's song's Group Love, but now with a marimba? Listen to Group Love over here. And I came up with something like this with the marimba. And I went beyond. I thought like, what if I added some anima shots to this? But instead of aggressive anima shots, just like Afro House. And what if I added some chord progressions like Tin Liquor would do as well? Again, the focus is not necessarily to write a good melody, but to get you excited about creating something new again. And this will essentially unleash your creativity to writing good songs in the future. But what if you don't want to make a song and just want to practice a little bit of creativity? Another really cool exercise is writing a 4-bar loop for every preset in a preset pack. But if you don't want to go through the whole preset pack, you can do it for 5 basses, 5 pads, 5 leads, and 5 plucks, and essentially we end up with 20 ideas in the end. The goal over here is to write as fast as you can and not as fast as you can, and this will eventually leave you with some really cool ideas. For example, I was trying to create a plucky bass and I came up with this. And then I thought, what if I made a lead for this, and I came up with this. But what if instead of a plucky bass, I used a sustained bass, and how would it sound like? But what if I use an ARP lead? How would this sound like? If you like these presets, you can get it over here in our Diva pack, but doing this exercise will force you to write in multiple scenarios for multiple styles of songs. Again, you can copy the writing style of other producers. The idea here is to write something that will help you write something else and eventually get you back to composing. If you do this every month, you essentially end up with 20 ideas per month, which is a lot to choose from, and you can do many songs with this. And that takes us to our next point of this video. Now, a big part of being in a creative rut is because you probably focus on producing or mixing and forgot about actually composing, and that composition skill got weak. So we need to focus a little bit on composition to get you back on track. And the easiest way to make this is making composition a habit to you. One thing that I used to do is produce 2 melodies or 2 drum loops every week, and by the end of the year, this left me with 100 ideas that were really important, especially when I was not feeling creative. In addition to that, that got me in the flow of producing again, and the more I did it, the better I got at it, and the faster it was to develop good melodies as well. So set aside 1 hour per week to just focus on creating ideas. Don't focus on being perfect, just focus on getting it out there, and once you feel that it's a good idea, move on to something else. But sometimes ideas are just not coming, and the thought about sitting to create something makes you flinch, and that's the perfect time to just go do something else. Go learn sound design, or just how to properly program drums, or even how to organize your sample library. Essentially, the more that you stay not doing anything, the harder it will be to get out of this rut. So just doing something can eventually trigger your creativity. For example, countless times I was just practicing sound design and a sound triggered creativity, and I created a song for this new sound that I've just made. So go do that. You can go over here in the description below in our sound design playlist and essentially just try to get back on moving to create something new. Now, when you find something that inspired you, put that on a playlist. And if you remember something that inspired you in the past, put that on a playlist as well. Essentially, you want to create an inspiration playlist and something that you can go back whenever you're feeling like you're in a rut. For example, I used to get inspired by watching Avicii do chords, so every time that I was feeling in a rut, I went back to Avicii doing chords, and that got me inspired again. The more that you do this, the easier it will be to not fall into writer's block and essentially to get out of writer's block as well. But sometimes you're in the middle of a song and you get stuck. And what should you do next? To avoid getting into writer's block, one thing that you can do is reaching out for someone to collab with you. Collabing with someone can not only make the result of the song better, but it can also inspire you to get back into writing because you're gonna learn a new way of producing, a new way of approaching melodies, and that all can fuel your creativity and get you back on writing. Again, when in a writer's block, the focus is never to pressure yourself and always try to find a way to keep on moving. And if you're in a writer's block right now, one thing that you can do is watch watch these videos about ear candies or how to make drum progressions to essentially get you back on writing and essentially get you back on learning, which can eventually trigger your creativity again. I hope you liked the video. Ciao.